Hi, welcome to Lachlan Likes a Thing, a show where I take a thing and see whether or not I like it. Now the thing we're looking at in this video is the Yamaha EPH-100 dynamic micro driver in-ear earphone. Now in this video we're going to look at the design and the build quality of the EPH-100, we're going to talk about the ergonomics and also the sound quality of the EPH-100. And throughout this video I'm going to be making comparisons to other earphones that I think are roughly comparable in terms of sound quality and price point. And they would be the HiFiMan RE400, the VSonic GR07, and especially to the JVC FXD80, which is another micro driver in-ear earphone with a metal body and a similar kind of overall sound. So first of all, this is the first Yamaha earphone that I've ever tried, and it retails for something like $149 in the US. That is the last price I saw on Amazon when I checked. As for Australian pricing, I actually have no idea whether you can even get these in Australian retail. I got this through a credit card redemption program, so I have no idea what the street prices are like in Australia. But if you really wanted a pair, I suppose you could import a pair through amazon.co.jp using Tenso forwarding, or maybe you can let me know in the comments if you find a place in Australia that actually sells these. Now let's talk about the design of the EPH-100, and one of the first things you'll notice about this earphone is the really nice solid feeling metal body on this earphone, and it looks like this kind of weird tube with several sections along it. And this metal earphone is actually made out of brass with nickel chrome plating, and Yamaha chose this material because supposedly it relates to their heritage as a musical instrument maker. Now what's really nice about all earphones with metal bodies in general, and I'm a big fan of these kind of earphones, is that the metal body feels very solid. It feels like something that's unlikely to break if you were to accidentally step on it or roll over it with a chair or something, which is something that I have an unfortunate habit of doing with my earphones. With the EPH-100's body, what is nice about this earphone is that compared to the JVC FXD80, which has a really nice stainless steel kind of earpiece, the EPH-100 has that similar sort of solidity to it, but it isn't nearly as heavy as the FXD80's body, which means it puts less pressure on your ear canals. As for the rest of the earphone though, I gotta say I find the cable of the EPH-100 a bit of a disappointment. First of all, the earpiece, with the strain relief connected to the earpiece, it's relatively flimsy and it doesn't feel like that it could take any sort of real pressure or abuse. The cable itself is quite lightweight, but it's somewhat thin and it's not particularly supple feeling, and it's leagues away from the cable on the JVC FXD80, which is a fantastic feeling high quality cable, surprisingly on an earphone which is less than half the price of the EPH-100. Now as far as the ear tips of the EPH-100 go, and this is moving into the comfort and ergonomic section of the review, I found that the ear tips included with the EPH-100 weren't all that comfortable for my ear canal. They come with bi-flange tips, and combined with the relatively thick nozzle of the EPH-100, I found that the second flange on the ear tips would rub against the inside of my ear canal and just feel a little bit irritating. And I actually ended up using the JVC FXD80 ear tips, which just have a single flange, and I just found them overall a bit more soft and a bit more comfortable in the ear. Now your mileage may vary, and as far as micro driver IEMs go, you definitely want to avoid any micro driver IEM in general if you've got small ear canals, because the relatively large nozzle is never going to be quite comfortable inside your ear. Now with the EPH-100 with the JVC tips, I actually found them quite comfortable, especially if you wear them with the cable going up and around the back of your ear. In terms of noise isolation, they're very good. I actually find them better than average. They block out quite a lot of noise for a dynamic driver in ear. They do stick out of the ear, which means that you can't lie down with them on. So if that's something that you want to do, you might want to look elsewhere. In terms of cable noise, again with the cable going up, cable noise is not really a problem with the EPH-100. So in general, I find the EPH-100 more of a comfortable IEM than the JVC FXD80, just because the earpiece is overall just less in terms of weight. I would put them equivalent in terms of comfort with the HiFiMan RE400, but not quite as good as the VSonic GR07, which has that adjustable nozzle, which means that you can really customize the feel of that earphone for your own ear. Now moving on to the sound quality of the EPH-100, generally in the past, when anyone was looking for a kind of good value, fun sounding earphone, I would generally recommend the JVC FXT80. Now the JVC FXT80 has a kind of fun, rich bass response, which is quite punchy and somewhat exaggerated, and combined with a vocal section and a treble section, which is again quite forward, and you get a somewhat V-shaped sound. Now the EPH-100 I think comes very close to me replacing the FXT80 as my main recommendation for that kind of fun, dynamic sound. The EPH-100 doesn't sound quite as treble forward as the FXT80. The FXT80 definitely has more kind of high-end shimmer to the sound, but overall it's the same kind of fun, dynamic signature. It's definitely not neutral, and it falls somewhere in between the Hi-Fi-Man RE400, which is just a very neutral kind of jack-of-all-trades sound, and the Shure SE215, which is somewhat of a more sleepy, warm kind of sound. The EPH-100 in comparison is a very lively, kind of vivacious sounding earphone. Now, the only reason why I think the EPH-100 doesn't completely replace the FXT80 in my recommendation is that the FXT80 is a cheaper earphone for one thing. It's about half the price of the EPH-100, and it's also, I would say, a better built earphone in terms of the cable durability. That said though, the EPH-100 is definitely going to be one of my top recommendations because it is a comfortable earphone, it has a really exciting sound to it, and I think it has a relatively good build as far as the earpieces go. I don't think the cable is terrible, and certainly the EPH-100 is a comfortable earphone overall, but I do think there is definitely room for improvement as far as the cable design goes. But I think that if you are a big fan of electronic music, or you want something that's just a bit more lively and you find that the RE400 or the VSonic GR07 are just a bit boring for you, I can definitely say you should put the EPH-100 near the top of your list. Anyway, thanks for watching this review. Please click the like button if you found it helpful, and subscribe to my channel for more reviews. Thanks to all my regular subscribers. I'm looking forward to your comments, and you can talk to me on Facebook at facebook.com/LachlanLikesAthing, or on Twitter at LachLikesAthing, and happy listening.